Okay boys, by the end of this video, I promise you will have the best Fortnite W key strategy here in Season 8. So let's get straight into the video. Okay boys, so off spawn, you need to be doing a couple of things. And these are very important things. And these will definitely come up in tournament games. So make sure you're listening. You need to master your drop spot. I literally mean not just the building you land at or the loot path. I mean you need to know how many chests that opponent just got in his building. Because if he got more chests than you, it means he's going to have better loot, or he's more likely to have better loot than you. So you need to understand every single part of your drop spot, not just where you're landing. On top of that, you need to be 100% honest with yourself. Like, you are not the best player in the world. Maybe you want to be and you want to work towards that, but right now in this scenario, are you the best player in the world? Ask yourself that question. If you land and you get a spaz, you're going to be thinking you're the best player in the world, so therefore it's okay to push. But you're getting a gray or maybe you've got a couple minis, maybe you do get a gray lever action or something like that. You're not exactly doing good. You have the basics, but you need better loot to be able to take a fight, because that other opponent, literally any other shotgun he has than you is better. So you don't want to take a close range engagement, and you need to be constantly having like a puzzle with yourself, like asking yourself questions. That is the number one thing you need to do off spawn, and it's fundamental. It's like you must do this if you want to do well. And the thing is, when you decide that you have enough loot, like maybe you did pick up a big pot, okay, maybe your shotgun loot is a bit, terrible, but you are 100 and you've got like 400 or 500 mats. Take the fight, bro, see how it goes, learn from the mistakes you make during the fight, and then keep rolling. But definitely choose a wise POI. Definitely, hands down, bro. In solos, if you're trying to W key, you don't even need a named location. You can pick up loot off to the side of somewhere. For example, you could land at the primal statue near Retail Row, and there's a lot of chests up on that mountain, and it does come with the built-in kind of slingshot pad. So you could definitely just take that after you've looted, go in and key retail, and that way it removes all the risk of getting like contested at your exact building. There's a difference between getting contested at a drop spot and getting contested within one building. Like if somebody lands your building and tries to pickaxe fight you for the chest, and it's happening consistently game after game after game, it's a shit drop spot, man. You need to change something up. You either need to change the drop spot entirely or just find a new building. And that's what I recommend to you here. This is just free knowledge before we start talking about mid-game, is that honestly, don't land the most overpowered building in your POI. So I'm going to give the example of Retail Row. In Retail Row, we have Doghouse, and Doghouse is the most overpowered building. It does have 3 chests, and there is other buildings like the big shop buildings that have more chests, but their chests aren't within a close proximity of one another. Think about Doghouse. You can land at the attic, you can drop down to the chest on the side in the actual doghouse, and then you can go for the side attic from below and drop the loot down. That's 3 chests in maybe 30 seconds, and you can pick up 100, 200 mats easy and then key somebody because you're going to have the best loot. But the thing is, that building's going to get contested over and over again because it's the best building. So what you have to do is find a building that's furthest away from the best building in your drop spot. I literally mean on the opposite side of the drop spot, and make sure it's got at least 2 chests. Whatever building's the furthest away from the best building and has 2 chests, loot that. That's literally a good rule of thumb, because what you're doing is creating distance between you and the best player in the POI. And that's fundamental, because if he gets 1 house and he's getting 3 chests, potential, you don't know, but you have to assume he's getting 3 chests. He's going to have way better loot than you. And if you're in the house beside him, he's just going to key you and your game's over. But if you put that distance between you and him, while you're over here and he's over here looting 1 building, you can loot 2 buildings, and by the time he makes it over to you, you actually have better loot because you took 2 buildings, meaning you have better mats, you've way better loot because there's more floor loot and chests. So definitely be thinking outside of the box, and that's really the most important thing off spawn. Let's talk about mid game right now though. So in mid game, there's a lot of problems people seem to face, whether it be third parties or maybe they're just not getting the amount of kills they need to, rank up in arena faster or even just do better in your tournament. But I'm going to be breaking it all down in this part of the video. With that said, if you are liking this video, if you're actually enjoying it, and if I'm providing value to help you become a better Fortnite player, definitely subscribe, because I put out videos like this all the time and it would help me out as well. It's going to help you out. Let's get into mid game. So the main area where people struggle in mid game is rotations. Now, we're all about rotations on this channel. It's probably the main reason why people subscribe. So I'm not going to go in depth on it though. Okay, not in this video. I do it in so many other videos. The best thing I can do for you if you're a new viewer is up the top right now. There's a card that will bring you to a 2-hour live stream I did yesterday, where I just VOD reviewed different POIs and how to rotate out of them for Storm Surge, to pick up more kills, even if it's a placement method. There's a lot of information in there. And if you want to continue watching this video first, continue to do so. I will link it at the very end for you. Let's move on, right? Rotations are key. Going towards the dead center of the map, the dead center core of the middle of the map, is completely wrong. You never go there for kills. You actually rotate around the edges of the map for kills. The reason why you do this is because if people are coming in out of storm, they're more than likely scuffed, they've rotated late, or they got into storm fights and they're probably low on health. So it means it's free, easy elims. The only thing about these fights is people mess up because they take all day trying to get the kill. They will literally go to max height, but you have to remember, you're on the edge of storm. So when that zone flicks and it starts moving again, you're going to be that person that's getting griefed. So you need to be able to kind of find a person, get close to him, and don't just beam him straight away, bro. You don't need to do that. You have to, again, use your head and be like, okay, should I start this with an AOR or should I be really close to him? I've said this in a video before, but think about it. If you could do 100 damage with an AOR from 50 meters away versus doing 100 damage from 25 meters away, what one is the smarter decision there? Now, a lot of people might not have understood the point of that question, but if you do 100 damage from, 50 meters away, okay, 100 damage from 50 meters away with your AOR, by the time you get to your opponent's wall, he's already fully healed. If you do it from 25 meters away, you can pull out a shotgun or an SMG and keep spraying and pressuring him and then move closer to him, and then you're right on top of him, and then the fight is almost over like that, because if you're spraying his wall, he cannot heal. That's very important to understand. They always apply pressure in any sort of fight, especially in mid-game, because if not, you're going to be getting third-partied. If not, if the fight goes on too long, you're going to get third-partied. So you need to understand how to end those fights quick and snappy. And again, I have multiple other videos on that, so I'm not going to talk directly about that in this video. But what I want you to understand is that with rotations, and I guess the methods of rotation, there's so many things in the game. There's no reason why you should be running. There's literally zero time in the game where you should be running except for moving zones. You should literally be using cars, and pads are spawning like every single house, bro. I've get coming out of a drop spot with 6 pads before. I'm not even capping, and that was in trios, and my teammates had pads as well. They're so common. Definitely collect them and use them as often as you can, man. Go from kill to kill, because you shouldn't be holding onto a pad unless it's a tournament and you want to use it in endgame. But in arena, you should be using that rotation as often as you can. Let me just make a list, bro. You got cars. You got those purple tubes around the map that you can use. You could also use them with some of those shadow rocks. You've got shadow floppers. And when you break a llama now, you get those pepper kind of splashes where you can run so fast and you can stack them. There's normal peppers. There's obviously the cars, bro. There's literally so many methods of rotation. Forgot about the rivers, the boats. You've got those IO pads, like the IO bases. You can hit those super IO, the super jump pads. And you've got the primal statues that will sling you. I could go on all day talking about rotations, but what you need to understand is use them. Get free rotates from them. Make a drop spot, like a loot route, in through a drop spot which has one of those things, because sure, you might not want to land at Pleasant Park, but if you landed somewhere like Stealthy Stronghold and used the pad from Stealthy Stronghold from the IO base within there, you could be in Pleasant Park in a matter of a few seconds. What that does is it means you don't have to get scuffed off spawn by only getting one house and getting shit loot, and there's 20 kids around you because that place is so contested. You could land up a Stealthy Stronghold, take your time looting up, hit the pad, and by the time you get into Pleasant Park, there's 5 people left. 5 people, let's say you kill only 3 of them, and the other 2, they die because they're fighting. You take 3 kills, bro. You're happy with 3 kills off spawn as far as I'm aware. If you get 3 kills off spawn, 3 kills in mid game, 3 kills in end game, all of a sudden you have a 9 kill game. And if you use that kind of method, you're going to be doing insanely well in tournaments, bro. That's above average kind of shit right there. But let's kind of bring it back to mid game and wrap this up before talking about end game. You always want to be thinking ahead when you're keying in mid game. A lot of pro players actually make this mistake where they kind of focus on the kills and being in the moment, but they don't think about next zone. You got to always be thinking about next zone, and this is real important when it comes to 4th zone. Okay, 4th zone is probably the most important zone because that's where end game begins. And if you're not in a good position around the map by the time 4th zone begins, you're going to get griefed, especially in tournaments. You need to be boxed up in 4th zone, guaranteed, hands down, bro. Even in FNCS, I see this all the time where people aren't boxed up, and all it takes is one player on your team to get beamed, and if they're griefed, your whole tournament's over because you're going to get lobby focused. So definitely be the guy lobby focusing people rather than the guy that's being lobby focused. Hopefully that made sense. And in order to do that, you need to rotate early for 4th zone. So your keying should stop around 3rd zone. At the end of 3rd zone, last minute of 3rd zone, you should be thinking, let me get myself in a good position for when 4th zone pulls in, because then you're going to be chilling. Okay, let's talk about endgame. This is another part where I see a lot of people mess up because they're still playing with that keying mindset, where you shouldn't be playing with that mindset in endgame. So in endgame, there's multiple things you need to be focusing on, okay? It's probably one of the most stressful scenarios of the game because you have to multi-manage everything you're doing. In, I guess, off spawn, it's just loot, kills. That's it. Mid game, it's, key towards smart fights, get yourself in a nice position, and wait. There's not a lot to be doing. In endgame, you've got tarps. You've got, I need a pick. You have to manage all of your materials. You have to manage the direction you're going in a moving zone and keep your eye in the top right corner at your map to see if it pulls back or if you have to make another long rotate. You have to decide whether, should I pad this or should I not pad this? Do I eat a pepper? Do I not eat a pepper? There's so many decisions to be made, and that's even harder in solos when there's only one brain. In trios, you've got 3 people, which means you have 3 brains, which means there's going to be better decisions made in trios than solos. In solos, it's all on you. And you need to be constantly aware of all these decisions that you're going to have to make. It's honestly just a good idea, if you have a second monitor, to be playing a tournament with a list of to-dos. So for off spawn, it should be only rush when you have a certain list of things. And that way your mind is programmed like, oh, I shouldn't rotate, or I shouldn't, attack this guy because I don't really have good loot. Or in the sense of endgame, this is the fundamentals on what to do. And honestly, I might actually start doing that. I have a second monitor free now because I started the dual PC streams. And by the way, we stream here on YouTube and on Twitch. We are a multi-platform channel where we stream at the same time on 2 platforms. So definitely go check us out on one of them. And if you're subbed here, you're all chilling. Make sure you have post noties on though. So yeah, in endgame, you just got to be more focused on different things because your attention can get swayed a lot. You can get tunnel visioned. This is where this happens the most, is in endgame. Tunnel vision, for people who don't know, it just means you see a free kill, maybe you hit him for whites, and you really focus on him. You just start tarping towards him. You're going away from zone. You're not aware of it. You're just so focused on getting that kill because you need it, or you think you need it. You need to stay focused on placement, zones, and all sorts of stuff like that in endgame. In endgame, you should really relax from the keying. It's understandable if it's a free tournament and you just need those kills, or if you're struggling. But in general, you should be just playing for the win. If you've made it to endgame and you've keyed mid-game, you've gotten your kills, you've gotten your storm surge, you have no reason to get a kill except if you need a refresh. So with that said, that's all I have to say in this video. Hopefully this W key strategy helped you out. Definitely consider subscribing, but the video on screen right now is definitely going to help you become a much better player. And I will have that playlist I mentioned earlier on screen as well.